in the hollow of God's hand, in the hollow of his hands, in the hollow of God's hand, of his hand. I am saved, why God himself doth hold me in the hollow of his hand. Everlasting arms of love enfold me, words of peace the voice divine has told me. I am saved, why God himself doth hold me in the hollow. In the hollow of his hand, in the hollow of his hand, of his hand. I am saved, why God himself doth hold me in the hollow of his hand, in the hollow, in the hollow, in the hollow of his hand, of his hand. I am saved, why God.
In the hollow of his hand, in the hollow of his hand, I am saved, why God himself doth hold me of his hand, in the hollow of his hand, in the hollow of his hand, I am saved, why God himself does hold me in the hollow of his hand. If you are sure you are in the hollow of God, I want you to give him a clapping offering. Give him a living clapping offering. Clap unto your Lord. If you are in the hollow of God's hand, begin to praise him. Begin to appreciate him. Begin to worship him. Begin to glorify him. That is the best thing that can happen in one's life. To be in the hollow of God's hand. Amen. Excuse me, brethren. When we are singing, do we meditate on what we sing? Are we entertaining? I want our mind and our soul and body to be here. I'm not raising any other song but the one we sang in that hollow of God's hand. What is your fear? What is your trouble? We are not conscious of whom we are. Pause. If you read Bible, read Psalm, at times you will say Sarah. Just meditate on what you sang. You are in the hollow of God's hand. Are you telling me? Are you telling to your inner man? Or are you telling other brethren? And what is your trouble? What is the source of your challenge? Why is doubt? In Jesus' name we worship. I want you to come up. Come up hither. For we want to dine in God's hand. Heavenly Father, this evening we commit this service once more into your hand. We appreciate you for your children you have gathered to refill. Heavenly Father, no man come to your presence and go the same. We pray as many that hear, as many that are present, the many that are fear, watching or hearing, anybody that relate to this service, wherever they are, Father, let their own token, their dividends be given to them. I pray, oh God, there shall be testimony. Let there be restoration. Let there be revival. Let there be increase. Let there be expansion. Let there be overflow in the life of you. For we met God's presence. Touch your brother, say, we met God's presence. If you didn't come and say he just went out now, say to somebody, you met God's presence. Because of that, you will go with something. Hallelujah, somebody. I'm not wearing you out. Please drop whatever you are. Clap unto the Lord again. Clap to your God, not my own God. Clap to your God. Daniel said, those who know their God, they shall do exploits. Knowing God is about recognition. Hallelujah, somebody. Clap unto your God. Clap. Amen. Do you know what is happening? Satan is confused. Your trouble, your challenges is confused. When he see you smile, he became confused. He lost. I didn't know. I followed somebody come, but I couldn't recognize him. And as you are going here, he will not recognize you again. Praise the Lord, somebody. Hallelujah. Somebody, can you laugh unto God? Laugh. Laugh, laugh. Amen. Hymn 43. I don't know how you come, but I'm sure you are going to go blessed. Hallelujah. Something is happening to me here. I feel an uncommon joy. Right inside me, there is joy in my soul right now. Are we there? 43. Come and dine, the master called, come and dine. We may feast at Jesus' table all the time. He who fed the multitude on the water into wine. Come and dine. Come and dine, the master called, come and dine. Come and dine, you may feast at Jesus' table all the time. You fed the multitude, turn the water into wine. To the hungry call it now. Come and dine. Come and dine, the master calleth.
Come and dine.
Come and dine.
You may feast at Jesus' table all the time. You who
Fed the multitude, turn the water into wine. To the hungry calleth now. Come and dine. Jesus has the table spread, where the saints of God are fed. He invites the chosen people, come and dine. With his manna he doth fed, and supplies our every need. Oh, it is sweet to sup with Jesus all the time. Come and dine, the master calleth, come and dine. Come and dine, you may feast at
Jesus able all the time.
He who fed the multitude, turned the water into wine. To the hungry call it now, come and dine. The disciples came to land, thus obeying God's command. For the master called to them, come and dine. There they found their heart desire, bread and fish upon the fire. Thus he satisfied the hungry every time. Come and dine, the master called, come and dine. Come and dine, you may feast at Jesus' table all the time. He who fed the multitude,
the Lamb will take his bride to be ever at his side. All the hosts of heaven will assemble be. Oh, to be a glorious sight, all the saints in spotless white, and with Jesus there will feast eternally. Come and die,
Come and die, the Master calleth.
come and die. You may feast,
You may feast at Jesus' table all the time. He who fed the multitude, turned the water into wine. To the hungry calleth now. Come and die,
come and die,
come and die. The Master calleth.
come and die.
He's calling you to come and eat.
You may feast at Jesus' table all the time. He who fed the multitude, turned the water into wine. To the hungry calleth now. Come and die.
142. Are we there? All you saints of life proclaim Jesus, the light of the world. Life and mercy in his name. Jesus, the light of the world. We walk in the light, beautiful light. Come where the dewdrop of mercy abide. Shine on around us by day and by night. Jesus, the light of the world. Hear the Savior's earnest call. Jesus, the light of the world. Send the gospel truth to all. Jesus, the light of the world. Hallelujah. We walk in the light, beautiful light. Come where the dewdrops of mercy abide. Shine on around us by day and by night. Jesus, the light of the world. Why not seek him there today? Jesus, the light of the world. Go with truth and narrow way. Jesus, the light of the world. We walk in the light, beautiful light. Come where the dewdrops of mercy abide. Shine on around us by day and by night. Jesus, the light of the world. Come, confess him as your King. Jesus, the light of the world. Then the bells of heaven we ring. Jesus, the light of the world. Hallelujah. We walk in the light. Brother, walk in the light. It is so beautiful light. Walk in the light. Darkness will not be around you.
Shine on around us by day and by night.
Jesus,
The light of the world.
we walk in the light,
Beautiful light. Come where the dewdrops of mercy abide. Shine on around us by day and by night.
Jesus,
The light of the world.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Amen. You will continue to walk in the light. So fear not. The light is the leader of the way. Without light, you can't identify. And our leader is light. We are walking in a defined movement. Our God is with us. May his name be glorified. Hallelujah, somebody. Amen. He's a great God. He's a great God. He's a great God. All I know, all I know is a great. Greater than that, your challenge. He's a great God. God. He's a great God.
All I know.
Do you believe He's a great
God?
Oh, He's a great
God.
Oh, He's a great God.
All I know.
Do you believe He's a great? Our Lord is greater than great. He's a great. Oh, He's a great God.
All I know.
Wonderful, marvelous are the works of my God. Great is thy name, Jesus. He wonderful, he marvelous are the works of my God. Great is thy name. May his name be glorified.
Amen.
We don't need to eat much of our time. Praise the Lord, somebody. Amen. I worship God for his sons and daughter here. He will show you that you are in a meeting with him. I say you are going to go with a gladness of heart. Praise the Lord, somebody. Amen. We are about to enter into the word of God. Pastor I say, if you know you can't draw what is drawn, you better not clean it. I watch that and I think I can be able to draw. Amen. May the name of the Lord be glorified. Sit down as a king and queen. The theme of our administration today is the kingdom of God. Hallelujah, somebody. The theme of today's administration is what? The kingdom of God. Amen. Praise the Lord, somebody. Do you know that God has a kingdom? We are going to deliberate about the kingdom of God. Is there any marker? The theme is hallelujah. Can we see it? That is the theme of today's administration. Amen. Let us open the word of God before we proceed. Matthew chapter 3, verses 2. First of all, let us read from Daniel chapter 2, 44. Daniel 2, 44. Somebody help me. Is somebody there? Let me hear you, please. Somebody help me. Daniel 2, 44.
Amen.
Amen.
Daniel 2:44 says, "And in the days of these things shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever."
Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Another person, help me. Matthew 3, 2.
Amen.
Amen.
It says, "And saying, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand."
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Because we are deliberating on kingdom, I want us to define what the kingdom is. Before I proceed, what is a kingdom? A kingdom can say to be a piece of land that is ruled by a king or a queen. Kingdoms are usually broken into smaller territory, such as city, state, province, that are governed by officials who report to the monarch. Most modern kings or queens do not control by the government. Another definition says, a kingdom is a state of government having a king or queen as its head. Hallelujah. By the Cambridge English Dictionary, this one I'm going to say now. It says a kingdom ruled by a king or queen. An area that is controlled by a particular person or system of authority. I take this last one. It is more simpler and it picks the vital points we need. You say, let me come again. And the last one, you say, a kingdom. You say, a country ruled by a king or queen. An area that is controlled by a particular person or system of authority. Are we there? Amen. The book of Daniel where we read was talking about kingdom, but it was talking about spiritual kingdom. If you watch the book of Matthew 3:2, when John was preaching, it was preaching, the kingdom of God is at hand. The kingdom of God is at hand. But to we Christians, what is the meaning of that kingdom? With this, it doesn't bring it to what we are. It didn't clear where we stand. But I'm going to touch it. Praise the Lord, somebody. If you watch the gospel, it is one. When John was preaching, his message was the kingdom of heaven is at hand. When Jesus came to preach in the book of Matthew 4, he didn't go far again, 4:17. Jesus, when he was praying, he said, from the time Jesus began to preach and to say, repent for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Am I talking to somebody? The kingdom is at hand. What is that kingdom? Praise the Lord, somebody. Amen. And when he was sending the disciples, if you read the book of Matthew deliberately, Matthew chapter 10, verse 7, he said, he commissioned there, he said, go you, he was talking to them from 6, go you only to the lost sheep of Israel. Preach. Can somebody help me? Start from 6, Matthew 10 from 6. The commission to the disciples is to preach about the kingdom as well.
Amen.
Amen.
Matthew 10:6 says, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Yes, sir. 7.
And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
The kingdom of heaven is at hand. We need to know what is that kingdom. What is that kingdom? I want to tell you, the kingdom we are talking about, there's something I want to single out. The kingdom is a state, is a system. He said, we are united under one vindicated headship, and that is Christ. The word of God, not under any church. Then our headship is a kingdom. Are we clear? Hallelujah, somebody. I come now to land. I was talking about the social definition, environmental definition. But now, the kingdom definition is what I said right now. We are under one government, under one headship that is vindicated. And that headship is Christ, the word of God. Not under any church. Not under any authority. Not under any government. We are under one umbrella, Christ. Are we getting it? Hallelujah, somebody. That is what you have. We are saying. What is that? When the word of God come into you and you receive it in power, that the kingdom of God has come into you. Praise the Lord, somebody. When St. Paul was talking, 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 20, can somebody help me?
Amen.
Amen.
1 Corinthians 4 verse 20
Uh-huh.
says, "For the kingdom of God is not in word, but in power."
The kingdom of God is not in word, but what? In power. When the Spirit of God is instigated it, when it is entangled with the Spirit of God, it becomes what? The kingdom. When it enter you. That's why when Jesus was speaking in John 15, he said, by the word you have heard. When you allow, and the psalmist say again, the entrance of the word of God giveth what? Life. Hallelujah. When you allow the word to enter into you, you come, but you are going a different person. Am I talking to somebody? Hallelujah, somebody. We are the people of kingdom. We were celebrating Christmas before, but suddenly God grant our grace to know whom we are. It is not because you know, we are predestined. It has been destined. We are born in. You can't be a member. You can't be a member of a kingdom. You can only be born in. Am I talking to somebody? It's not something, it's not contagious. It is a gift. It must be between you and your God. Hallelujah, somebody. Pastor cannot help you. Bishop cannot help you. Pope, it is a personal, it's not something you say, I didn't know. Suddenly I see my uncle helped me and prepare visa. I suddenly see myself in America. No. It can't happen like that. Praise the Lord, somebody. We are kingdom children. Hallelujah. And the kingdom we are into, St. Paul was talking in the book of Hebrew. He said it's an unmovable kingdom. It's unmovable. All that ground are sinking sand. But where we are standing is strong. Help me to sing that song. All other ground are singing sand. Please help me. Is it 138? Help me sing it. I didn't know. Until I come to understand that my hand is standing on a solid rock. Hallelujah, somebody. 138. Help me, somebody.
My hope is built
On
nothing less
than Jesus' blood
and
and
Righteousness.
I dare not trust the sweetest friend,
but wholly lean on Jesus,
name.
on Christ the sorry rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. When darkness seems to hide his face, I rest on his unchanging grace. In every high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord, somebody. If you come to know you belong to in a kingdom, brother, you will stand well. We need to stand well and mind what we speak. Let me tell you that something I notice. If you come to the language of word, we say we look. Face, you talk about face. But it's a kingdom language. When God was speaking in the book of Malachi 4:5, he said, I'm going to turn the hearts of children to their father, and the heart of the father to their. Is a kingdom. Why not turning the face? Why not turning their eyes? It's heart. It's the heart. It's a kingdom language. Hallelujah, somebody. Our heart is where and who we are. We are it. The meter of our life. Praise the Lord, somebody. I want us to know that God loves us. First Corinthians 15:50. It says something. Can somebody help me? 50 to 51.
Amen.
Amen.
1 Corinthians 15:50. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God.
Pause, please. He said what? Flesh and blood cannot inherit this kingdom of God. Brother, we have other kingdoms. We have a kingdom. We have series and many kingdoms. But the one we are talking is the kingdom of God. The flesh and blood has no part in it. Hallelujah, somebody.
Amen.
Brother can continue.
Neither doth corruption inherit incorruption.
Amen.
Amen.
51.
Behold, I shew you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
Amen. Amen.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed.
Amen.
Amen.
This is a kingdom glory. This is a kingdom grace. This is a kingdom dividends. If you are not in kingdom, you will not be changed. There will no translation for you. Praise the Lord, somebody. Amen. Hallelujah. It was the grace of God that found us, made us. We come to know. They say they celebrate Christmas. We know that it is a worship of our idol. It's not a celebration. It is a worship. And then we separated ourselves. Hallelujah, somebody. You are blessed to be here this moment. Because I know how troublesome a woman is when Christmas is coming. Woman and children. But if not that God has circumcised your heart, if not that there's a touch in your life, nothing will make you to be here by now. Look at able young man. They have parked their car in God's vineyard for the world, while the people of the world are gallivanting, wasting away. It is a favor. It is a gift of God in your life. May his name be glorified. Hallelujah, somebody. Amen. I never see this kind God before. Wonder, 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 wonder. I never see this kind God before. Wonder, 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 wonder. Jesus now, wow. Jesus now, wow. I never see. Wonder, 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 wonder. He visits you and make you whole. Wonder, 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 wonder. I never see this kind God before. Wonder, 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 wonder. Brother, God has remembered you. You are not here because you are most smart. You are here because God have you in his plan. He has started a project in your life, and he will not leave you like that. Let not in trouble. You say, Paul said, let no man trouble me, for in my body I have the mark of Christ. It's a kingdom language. Let me tell you, your heart can be anything. Paul was talking about his flesh. He didn't say in my soul. He said in my body. Brother, he spoke is an ambiguous word. They say, he heard someone say flesh and blood cannot inherit. But Paul is saying, in my body, I have the mark of Christ. How many of us can talk like that? You read it, you think it is a preamble. Praise the Lord, somebody. God is taking somebody higher. If you are that person, say better amen. Amen. Our God is able. Hebrews chapter 12:28. We are still talking about the kingdom of God. Hebrews 12:28. Somebody help me.
Amen. Hebrews 12:28. Wherefore, we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear.
Praise the Lord, somebody.
Amen.
Wait for, please. It says, wherefore we receive a kingdom which cannot be moved. Brother, let us clap for the Lord. Clap for the Lord. Clap for the Lord. a kingdom that cannot be moved. Do you understand it? Amen. Let us have grace whereby we may serve God acceptable with reverence and godly fear. Godly fear must be. Whenever your fear of God is not in you, you have expired. Whenever it doesn't matter is the cap or the staff in your head, you are decaying. It doesn't matter. It's the language of the suya. That is why they fly it. Aboki, the same aboki that take it to where he was eating grasses. When he bring glass, he was telling the nama it doesn't matter. He was telling the man nama what? It doesn't matter. Is it not what I used to cut the grass? Is it that something cannot happen around here? The nama look around and look around. Aboki come close and tell us say it doesn't matter. Before they know it, there's something enter. And there is the evidence. My brother, is a dangerous word in this kingdom. When a lady begin to be naked and he tell you, say, God searched the heart, it doesn't matter. It's not a kingdom language. We need to be very, very careful. You must make sure you put on your seat belt. We are people of the kingdom. So that you don't, when there's gallop, you cannot get out of the kingdom. There's extent to your head can come. Enemy will hit you. And you begin to complain. Praise the Lord, somebody. Our God is able. And is abundantly able. Don't stop looking outside. Fear not. The Bible says, surely they will gather. But because their gather is not of God, they will scatter. Praise the Lord, somebody. Amen, somebody. Our God is worthy. Amen. I want somebody to help me. Open the book of Revelation chapter 21. Let it touch from 1 to 3.
Amen.
It's talking about new heaven and new earth.
Amen.
It's a kingdom.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
Amen.
Amen. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God.
Amen. Wait. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. This is the kingdom of on earth. The kingdom of God on earth. The God footstool has marched the ground. Praise the Lord, somebody. In humanity. Don't you know that when somebody that he possesses is delivered, that the kingdom of God has come upon that person? Do you know that? Let us check the book of Luke 17:20. Am I right? Luke 11:20. I mean.
Amen.
Amen.
But if I, with the finger of God, cast out devils, no doubt the kingdom of God is come upon you.
Amen.
Amen.
Is it me that's saying it? If by the finger of God, if I with the finger of God cast out devil, no doubt the kingdom of God is come upon you. Go down, 21.
When a strong man armed keepeth his palace.
No, please, Luke 21:31 now.
Okay.
Sorry, Luke 21:31. Sorry.
Okay. The queen of the
So likewise
ye, When ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand.
Hallelujah, somebody.
Amen.
Which things is those signs when false prophets begin to rise and you begin to see certain things? Someone saying, I'm the Christ, and many other things. So when you see something, such a things, you say, so likewise, you, when you see these things come to pass, know you that the kingdom of God is near at hand. Near at hand. Praise the Lord, somebody. Amen. Amen. Our God wants to open our eyes so that we can know whom we are. If you go with me, the book of John, chapter 3, verses 3. Somebody help me.
Amen.
Amen.
Jesus answered and said unto him, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God.
Amen.
Amen.
This kingdom of God, he said, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man is born again, he can't see that kingdom of God. But if you go to 5, it's talking about entering. Help me, go down to 5.
Jesus answered, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God.
You must be born of the water and of the Spirit before you can enter. Praise the Lord, somebody.
Amen.
You must be born of the water and of the Spirit. Born by the word, empowered, filled with the power of God before you can be inside that kingdom. The word of God must dwell in you. John 1:14 said, the word that is made a flesh that dwelleth among men. John 1 chapter 14. The word that, somebody help me.
And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. The glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth.
Hallelujah, somebody.
Amen.
When this word enter you, brother, you end humanity, carnality ends. There's a transformation. There's a change. You can confront things. That's why Proverb was saying, he said, when you are equipped, when you are in this kingdom, he said, power of life and death is in your mouth. You are, it says, Psalm 82 verse 6 say, because you are son of Most High God, then if you are filled, quickened by this word, you are a son of God. Psalm 82 verse 6 says something. 82 verse 6. He said, because you are son of Most High God, you are God's. Because you are son of Most High God, you are God's. Can I see it? Psalm 82 verse 6.
I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
Amen.
Amen.
If it's other translation, it will say it, but the King James say, I have said, you are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. Praise the Lord, somebody.
Amen.
When the word is endowed in you. Hallelujah, somebody. If you understand whom you are, you don't need to get up and say somebody is born. What is the first? How did the person enter into where you are? Do you know you are in a different kingdom? If you go to the book of Esther, when the King Ahasuerus, when he was in his kingdom, there was 7 chamberlains, there are 7 officers. Who dare you to enter there? And in your own kingdom, you think somebody can just gallivant and enter there? It's not the kingdom of God. So let us make sure we enter. Don't sit on the wall. Don't sit on the fence. When you enter and belong to that kingdom, you are a terror to the kingdom, any kingdom you enter. He said to Moses, anywhere the sole of your foot has marched, there shall be a... I know if I enter any man by handshake, I destroy things. I'm not pretending, I'm not boasting. One man, a native doctor, was killing people and behaving anyhow. Every time people come around him, he killed everything. He said what he needs from me. Before I even entered this message, what I'm talking is more than 16 years back. He said what he wants me just to be around. I said, Chairman, you trust your charm. Can you allow me barefooted, let me go in your charm. I will not pray and come back. The man said, don't enter. He said, don't come. Praise the Lord. They know who you are. Because even before, you didn't become a woman the day you get that man's husband. Only that he unveil whom you are to yourself. Praise the Lord, somebody. Until you change your position, what we need is a divine positioning. And we can be in the way God wants us. God has started a work, and he will definitely finish it. Children of kingdom, shout hallelujah. If you are in God's kingdom, shout amen. If you are one of the people, if the kingdom of God has come in your life, I want you to shout amen. How down you say you see masquerade? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. God didn't use Bam Bam to do his own kingdom. Hallelujah. Amen. They cannot trouble you anymore. I know whom I am. Hallelujah. We don't want to enter because of time. Praise the Lord, somebody. Want us to stand firm and know that our God is able. Even Jesus, when he was teaching the disciples tell them, teach us how to pray. Do you know one of the prayer he taught them? Let's open the book of Matthew chapter 6 verses 10. He was emphasizing of the kingdom. Kingdom. Help me.
Amen.
Thy kingdom come. Please start from 9. Start from 9. We'll land on this.
After this manner.
Okay. Okay.
After this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
First of all, the will can never come ahead of the kingdom. It is when you have the kingdom of God that's a leadership. Hallelujah. Book of John, call it the counselor, the helper, advocate. He must lead you. He must go ahead of you. The Holy Spirit. When indwelling of the Holy Spirit in our life is the kingdom of God. Hallelujah, somebody. If you know whom you are, Daniel 11:32b say, those who know their gods, they will do exploits. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. God said it. I believe in, and thou settles it. God said it. I believe in, and that settles it. That settles it. God said it. I believe in, and that settles it. God says it. I believe it, and that settles it. Hallelujah, somebody. Matthew 24:35. He says something. He says heaven and earth. Somebody help me. Let me get it with me.
Amen.
Amen.
Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
It is inside that kingdom when you enter. They say heaven and earth can pass away, but the word of God can never pass away. Hallelujah, somebody.
Amen.
It is when these words enter, it does something. Remember this word. It visited the earth and things begin to change. In the beginning was the word, and the word was void without anything. And when God came, he said, let there be this. And there was that. The darkness filled the firmament of the earth. And at the spoken of the word of God, the same word came in the whole space of the word, but it fill it and bring transformation. It did like daylight. It was pure plain darkness before. The word of God. How can it come into your life, into your life, you remain the same? It's not possible. Mary had it when the angel of God bring the message Blessed is the fruit of your Hail Mary, blessed is the fruit of your womb. Mary had a word filled quickened with the power, and the law of nature was broken. There's power in the word of God. Jeremiah said the word of God is like hammer and fire. Jeremiah, when he was describing it, the way Jeremiah couldn't control himself, he said, he was stammering and speaking. He said, this thing I'm seeing, it's like a hammer. The big hammer is, and he said it's like fire. He was speaking, explaining it. It's like hammer, it's like fire. Paul, when he was speaking in Hebrew, he says like two-edged sword. He said, pierce into marrow. It weakened. You can't hear the word of God and you begin to go normal. Somebody will come and shun you. You sit down on it. You are a child of the kingdom. Not just kingdom, God's kingdom. Hallelujah. Somebody, because he dream, and something happened, he come and tell you, I see you, child of kingdom, and you are listening. Whose child are you? Where do you come from? Because of the temper, God bragged with you, and that's why you did not born. For some time, they heard you. God bragged with you, and he want to give you a special seed, and you are allowing people to come and talk to you anyhow. You are whom God said you are. Hallelujah, somebody. Know where you are, where you come from. In the book of Isaiah 50, Isaiah 50, is it 51, 52 or 2? He said, I know where I dug you from the quarry, inside where I dug you out. He said he dug you out from somewhere. Praise the Lord, somebody. Let us stand strong. Let us maintain whom we are. When you stand where? A tree that carry branches, other branches can be shaken, but the tree, you can't see it bending. When the wind is blowing, it stands kakara kakara. The branches are permitted to swing, but the tree is not permitted to swing. You belong to that kingdom. Somebody say, I am whom God said I am. No more smesme. Hallelujah. Amen. Hanorum nine mema. Hanorum nine mema. Hanorum nine mema. Mbembiaro bụrụ eziokwu. Hanorum nine mema. Anorum nine mema o, anorum nine mema o. Oge mbịara bụrụ eziokwu, Chukwu dị mma, ịdị mma, ịdị mma, ịdị mma, ịdị mma, ịdị mma o. Onye nwe m ịdị mma. Onye nwe m oge n'ịdị mma, nsogbu mbịa n'ụrụ na-egbochi m, aka nsọ gị metụ m aka o. Onye nwe m n'ịdị mma, Chukwu dị mma, ịdị mma, o ịdị mma, o ịdị mma. Amen. Amen. What of Satan's kingdom? We are talking about kingdom of God, kingdom of God, kingdom of God. Yes, I'm going to touch it, scratch it and pass. I'm not deliberating. I will scratch Satan's kingdom and what? Pass. Anything that God did do, Satan emulate it. The main imitator is Satan. The kingdom of Satan is darkness and death. Is Satan's kingdom. Again, what is Satan's kingdom? Anything that is contrary to the word of God is Satan's kingdom. Are you hearing me? Anything that is contrary to God's kingdom is Satan's kingdom. Let me tell you, do you know when Jesus was in the world, he had 12 disciples. Do you know if you go to the kingdom, the coven, the kingdom of darkness, do you know they use they are 12? But let me tell you what they do. half of them, 6 of them, the leader will be there. 6 of them from the kingdom of darkness, 6 will be woman, 6 will be man. See how democratic it is. Very fine. Equal right. Everything is there. It's even more special. Hallelujah. William Brown was speaking. He said, in God's kingdom, he said it doesn't entertain. He said it grows. It grows. We are not talking about number. We don't do facial. You don't entertain. It grows because it is a gold. He said gold grow. Do you know gold grow? Hallelujah. Because you have a source. In witchcraft the kingdom, woman 6, man 6 plus the leader. Where do they get it? Don't tell me that Satan quotes Bible. They are quoting it, but they are seeing it with the left hand. Have you seen somebody that you think he's looking at you, his eyes is like this? That's how they see things. Yes! I have to tell you the truth. 10:15. Eyes of quarter past 10. Somebody that wear naked, they will see it with somebody like with short naked. If you ask him, he say, I see him swimming. Give him a paper to write what you see. If he writes, he will drop the paper and run. You are standing in the same place, but he's seen another thing. Satan is bastard. It will not be well with that cocoa. Praise the Lord, somebody. Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord, somebody. If I'm taking time, please, you should let me know. I want us to look in John chapter 15, verse 7. If you have allowed the kingdom to enter, don't be afraid of the petitions. When you pray, believe we are God. John 15, 7.
If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you.
Amen.
Amen.
Do you hear the word of God? If you abide in him, me, and my word abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. By that time, your will is the will of God. What God? That thing he prayed in Matthew chapter 6:10. He said, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The word of God doesn't contradict. It is synchronized. It interwoves. If you bring it and socket it, it will catapult you to where you want to be. Praise the Lord, somebody. Our God is prepared. It's more than enough. Don't be looking. Don't be carried away. In the word of God say in the book of Corinthians, he said, what you pass now cannot be compared with the glory ahead. He said, the saints that go before you, they have been tested. He said, you will not be tested more than your capacity. Praise the Lord. Is it 1 Corinthians 10:13? Am I? Eh? 4 Corinthians 4:17. Somebody help me.
Amen. For this
Okay, I'm correct. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Yes, read it.
1 Corinthians 10, verse 13.
Yeah.
There had no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
Amen.
Amen.
This is St. Paul talking. He's talking to the believers. That you're a child of God doesn't mean that there will be no challenge. But God will not test you beyond your capacity. Hallelujah, somebody.
Amen.
Every metal has a melting point. Iron, rock, iron, steel, gold, lead, other any cast iron. They have different melting point. And the word of God says in the book of Timothy, in a great house there are many vessels, some unto honor and some unto dishonor. But my brethren here in this kingdom are unto honor. You, sister, you are unto honor. Brother, you are unto honor. Praise the Lord, somebody. I want us to know that our God is in a business of reviving his people. Because you're a child of kingdom, because his purpose is in your life, he will not abandon you, and his will be fulfilled in your life. Amen, somebody. Let us touch Colossians chapter 2 from 12 to 15. Colossians. If you are there, let me hear.
Colossians 2, verse 12. Buried with him in baptism, wherein also ye are risen with him through the faith of the operation of God, who hath raised him from the dead. 13. And you, being dead in your sins and the uncircumcision of your flesh, hath he quickened together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross. And having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of.
Amen, amen, brother.
Amen.
15 is where I wanted you to land. If you are with me here in the book of Colossians, in the place where my brother was leading, you will see that God is showing his faithfulness to his bride. Hallelujah, somebody. If you eat this word and meditate on it, brother, you can't just get up and be confused. You can't just get up and be weary. Most of us, when we get up, we say we need money. But I hear somebody say, I want more of you, Jesus. The more I know you, the more I want to know you, Jesus. More of you. I want more of you, Jesus. I want more of you, Jesus. The more I know you, the more I want to know you, Jesus. More of you. Amen.
Amen.
If you want more of him, I want you to stand up and clap unto the Lord. Stand up and clap unto the Lord. Clap unto the Lord. Amen. Colossians chapter 1:13, he says, who has delivered us from the power of darkness and has translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. You have been translated into a kingdom of his dear Son. Somebody shout a better hallelujah. Do you know the meaning of translation? You have been translated into a kingdom of his dear Son. Amen, somebody. Our God has remembered somebody. Whatever came with you, the word of God says in Psalm 97 verse 5, somebody read it with me. He said, in the presence of God, the mountains melt. That challenge will expire here. Psalm 97 5. Before After now, I will
Amen.
start praying for people. I will pray for people.
Psalms 97 verse 5. The hills melted like wax at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth.
The hill that represents the mountain, it melts like wax in the presence of the God of the whole earth. Praise the Lord, somebody.
Amen.
If you believe this word we are hearing, without any doubt, no doubt of it, brother, you will be assured there will be peace. Whether you have money or not, you, after meeting God right now, I prophesy into everyone that hear my voice. I pray between now and 24 hours, there will be testimony in your table. Hallelujah, somebody. I stand by the privilege that is given to me here right now. I prophesy turn around in the life of everybody here in Jesus' name. Anything that belongs to you that have been taken to any coven, to any kingdom, to any place, we recover it back in Jesus' name. Upon Pastor Nice, he will continue to go from level to level. He will continue to grow from glory to glory. Enemy will not see him. He's untouchable. He's unsurmountable. The power of God will carry him through. I pray the angels that work with him will be more radical. Thank you, Jesus. He touched my life with his hand. My life changed. He touched my life with his hand. My life become a brand new one. Jesus touched my life with his hand. My life changed. My life changed. He touched my life with his hand. My life changed. He touched my life with his hand. My life become a brand new one. Oh, Jesus touched my life with his hand. My life changed. Oh, he touched my life with his hand. My life changed. Oh, he touched my life with his hand. My life become a brand new one. Oh, Jesus touched my life with his hand. My life changed. My life changed. He touched my life with his hand.
My life changed.
My life changed.
Touch my life with his hand. My life become a brand new one.
Oh, Jesus touched my life with his hand. My life changed. My life changed. He touched my life with his hand. My life changed. My life changed. He touched my life with his hand. My life become a brand new one. Jesus touched my life with his hand. My life changed. We are children of the kingdom. We are
Family.
we are one. We are one.
We are heirs
Of the Father. We are joined.
joint heirs with the Son.
We are
People
of the kingdom. We are family. We are one. We are one. We are sanctified. We are cleansed by his blood. We are born of the Spirit. We are children of the Lord. We are children of the Father. We are joined hands with the Son. We are children We are heirs of the Father. We are joined hands with the Son. We are people of the kingdom. We are family. We are one. We are one. We are looking to the sky. We are watching. We are waiting. We shall dwell within. We shall rise. We are dwelling of
Forever.
Amen. Men and angels shout and sing, for dominion has been given for the family of the King. Amen. He said dominion has been given for the family of the King. I pray every lost glory, every lost glory, every lost possession, this evening let there be restoration.
Amen.
Close your eyes. Be in the mood of receiving. God will show somebody something you lost for a long time. There shall be restoration. There is going to be restoration of dominion. Some of you, when he speaks something, it used to come to pass. But for some time now, it doesn't happen again. But today, there's a restoration for somebody. Some of you, when you dream, it comes to pass. But now, there's a leakage. Right now, there's a refilling and restoration. I don't know what the enemy has taken. I have provoked you to know you are a child of the kingdom. You are whom God said you are. When Jeremiah began to doubt himself, say, I'm a little child. He said, when you are still in your mother's womb, because that shows it's not of your own efforts. I have not known your character. I have not take the woman worldly record. When you are still in your mother's womb, I know you. Moses doubted, say, I'm a stammer. God said, I choose you. You are a kingdom. You are a child of kingdom, not by your own qualification. It's a gift from God. And any power that is contending with your gift right now, by the power in the mighty name of Jesus, may the Lord rebuke the power of the enemy. May the Lord rebuke every accuser of your life. May the Lord rebuke your attackers in Jesus' name. May the Lord rebuke your contenders in Jesus' name. May the Lord rebuke your defenders in Jesus' name. Be quiet. Psalm 46 verses 10, it says, be still and know that I am God. He is a gentle God. There's a restoration going on. God is here. God is here. He's moving in majesty. He's going to visit you. There's going to be surprises today. I'm not saying tomorrow. You are going to see a sign when you get home. The thing that troubled you before, there shall be gladness of heart. Whatever you want God to do, God will show you that you meet him. You say that he meet him. When if you read the book of Esther, when Hazarus, when Vashti provoke, dishonor the king, because you know he's of a kingdom and have 7 chamberlain, which types of things we are the age we are in now. I pray anything that has disobeyed you in your office as a selected one child of God, they are dethroned in Jesus' name. They are dethroned in Jesus' name. Though you must know whom you are. Because the king knew that he's a king. And the king and his word is the same. You must stand by your word. Hallelujah, somebody. He brought me out of the miry grave. He set my feet on the mount to stand. He put a song in my soul to dance, a song of
praise, hallelujah.
my heart was distressed.
Jehovah they frown, and lo, in the pits where my sin dragged me down, I cried to the Lord from the deep, my regret. He tenderly brought me out to golden days.
Oh, he brought me out of the miry
clay.
He set my feet on the rock to stand. He put a song in my soul to dance, a song of praise, hallelujah. He
Place me upon the strong rock by his side. My steps were established, and here I abide. No danger of falling while here I remain, but stand by his grace until the crown I gain.
He brought me out of my miry clay. He set my foot on the rock to stay.
He put a song in my soul today, a song of praise, hallelujah. He gave me a song, 'twas a new song of praise. By day and by night, his sweet notes I will raise. My heart's overflowing, I'm happy, I'm free. I'll praise my Redeemer who has rescued me.
He brought me out of the miry clay. He set my feet on the rock to stay.
He puts a song in my soul today, a song of praise, hallelujah.
Heavenly Father, I commit your children once more into your hand.
Amen.
Those that see themselves trouble, as many of them that have one challenge or the other, as they sleep now, they will wake up with a new song.
Amen.
I say you will wake up with a new song.
Amen.
The word of God says in the book of Isaiah 12:3, say, with joy shall we draw water out of the well of salvation.
Amen.
When God wants to do a new thing, he will give you a new song.
Amen.
There shall be a turnaround. Any land that enemy has claimed around spiritually, physically, in your marriage, in your finances, in your home, by the power and the presence of God here right now, we recover it double. Everything that the enemy has tampered with in your life, the zeal of God has grown cold in somebody's life, but today there shall be quickening. The fire will burn higher. There shall be a new zeal for Christ. There shall be hunger for God, a new passion for worshiping God. I said there shall be a clearance. John was clearing, make a way in a desert, because things has occupied the heart of man. He saw desert, he saw dilapidated area, he didn't see a space, he was clearing, make a way for the Lord. Let there be a way once more. Every bushes that has taken the place of God in our life, let there be permanent uprootment. Let it be taken away, and may the glory of God shine in our life.
Amen.
In Jesus' name. Jam your hand for the Lord. Amen. As the man of God is coming to take, we want to pray one prayer for the ministers. Anything that will make any minister in this tabernacle anywhere to slump and die, we cancel it.
Amen.
Starting from pastor to the down. Somebody say it will not stand.
Not stand.
Neither will it come to pass.
Neither will it come to pass.
Any Satan's agenda will not stand. Open your mouth and begin to pray. Every minister, starting from pastor, every minister in this auditorium, and even our neighboring brothers, it will not happen in Jesus' name.
Any agenda of the enemy to make any of the ministers or the servants of God to slow and die, Father, we come against it in the name of Jesus. We say it will not stand, neither will it come to pass in the name of Jesus. Father, because our life is hid in Christ in God, therefore no weapon form against us.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. He has promised.
Never fail me. His faithfulness is forevermore. His faithfulness is forevermore.
Blessed Redeemer, we thank you. We appreciate you, O King of Glory. We thank you for your faithfulness. We thank you for your loving kindness. King of Glory, we thank you the way you have handled us this evening and you have blessed your children.
Amen.
King of Glory, may your name alone be glorified in Jesus' name. We will give our offering now as we take this song. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you,
my
Savior.
God.
Thank you,
Jesus. Thank you, my dear Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, my God. Thank you, Savior. Thank you, my dear Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, my God. Thank you, Savior. Thank you, my dear Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Savior. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, my dear Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Savior. Thank you, Savior. Thank you, my dear Lord. And so, Heavenly Father, we thank you for we have offered unto you our little token. Father, bless it and use my little for your kingdom in Jesus' name. King of glory, we appreciate you because you're a great God. Thank you, dependable Father. For in Jesus' wonderful name we pray. Amen. Brethren, on Friday, remember, we will still have our evening service. Endeavor to come in Jesus' name. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight. We appreciate you, Lord, as we go now, King of glory. Go ahead of us. Make the crooked way straight, so that we will not stumble on any evil thing in Jesus' name. King of glory, we thank you, we appreciate you. Remember our brethren in Ibadan. Father, protect them and deliver them in Jesus' name. Father, King of glory, we shall hear testimonies. As we go tonight, Father, go with us to the glory of your name and to the shame of the devil. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.